Houston Healthcare. We're recognized as one of the top hospitals in the state based solely on the advanced medical technology we provide. But what isn't taken into account is our people. We have over 2,000 employees that are focused, dedicated, and sincere in their mission to create a positive healthcare outcome for each patient. It just goes to show that maybe the most important aspect of great healthcare is the people who are taking care of you, and that just can't be measured. Houston Healthcare, advanced medical care, closer to home.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our 2024 Robbins Regional Chamber Board Chair, Michael Collins with TCS.
Good afternoon and welcome to our 2024 State of the Base this morning, or this afternoon now. We ran out of morning, didn't we? Thank you all for attending in person, and we give a great shout out to our remote audience watching us from 13 WMAZ online, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Michael Collins, current chair of Robbins Regional Chamber Board of Directors and CEO of Total Computer Solutions, or TCS. And in our diamond year as a chamber, I think you may have heard that this is our 75th year, right? Sometime. But in our diamond year as a chamber, we bring you this event as a way to support and inform the business community on the latest missions and initiatives taking place on the other side of the fence. This is not only an opportunity for us to hear from the other side of the fence about these initiatives and the direct economic impact that the base has on our entire region, but this also serves as a mean by which we put hands and feet to our Edom GFAD community motto, every day in Middle Georgia is Armed Forces Appreciation Day. So please be sure to let the base representatives here today know how much we appreciate them. I think I speak for us all when I say I want the men and women who pass through this great community by way of the base to see a tangible difference in the way that we treat those who sacrifice so much to serve our great country. At this time, I'd like to call our current Military Affairs Committee Chair to the podium, Billy Griggers, and the beautiful and talented Miss Lindsay Richardson, who will follow the prayer with the national anthem. Please help me welcome them to the stage.
We want to appreciate your attendance, and we're looking forward to a great program tonight. Let's have a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us all together today in this country to be able to spend time together and to learn about what's going on in our military affairs and in the world today. Please bless each of us as we go our separate way this week, and please bless this food and help it to nourish our bodies. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please stand. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Chamber, we could not produce an event like this without the generous support of our sponsors. So please help me show our love to these sponsors once they've all been announced. Our presenting sponsor today is Jeff Smith Automotive Group. Our hosting sponsor is House and Healthcare in this great facility. Our 3 gold sponsors for this event are Credence Management Solutions, Mercer University, and Terma. And our 5 silver sponsors are Best Western Plus Executive Residency Rigby's Water World Hotel. That's a mouthful. I was tempted to keep going, like Warner Robins, off Highway 96. Cox Communications, Middle Georgia State University, the City of Warner Robins, and Robbins Financial Credit Union. Let us show these sponsors our love, along with all those who sponsored tables this morning. We are also honored this morning to have our mayor with us, and she will come at this time to provide an official greeting. Please welcome Miss LaRonda Patrick to the stage, our mayor of City of Warner
Good afternoon, everyone. It is so awesome to see so many wonderful faces here today. I didn't even get to the whole room. But this really shows our service members, our military service members, how much we truly do support them in their service for not only the City of Warner Robins, Houston County, and the state of Georgia, but for our entire nation. So I want to give you all a hand for showing our military how much they mean to us. As a huge supporter of military service members here, I come from a line of military service members. I've always wanted to serve myself, but I never had that privilege because that's just what happened in life. But I want to leave you with this quote. Our flag does not fly because the winds move it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. The author of that quote is unknown. So I say that quote because being patriotic is not just about optics. It's about the heart of a nation. It's about a heart of those that we support. And it's about the heart of the soldiers who sacrifice themselves every single day in different arenas to protect the freedoms we enjoy here. So welcome to the City of Warner Robins, a huge supporter of Robins Air Force Base, and a huge supporter of our military service members, veterans, and their families. Thank you for being here, and thank you for having me, and thank you. God bless the United States of America.
While we do our best around here to make the base personnel feel special and appreciated, the reality is that the base makes this community special. And anything that helps the base helps Warner Robins and our surrounding communities, whether it's House of Macon, Warner Robins, Centerville, Perry, Byron, Cochran, Fort Valley, wherever. If it helps the base, our community reaps the reward of that benefit. And because of that, the Robins Regional Chamber applauds anything that benefits the base. We do everything possible to demonstrate our appreciation of them, whether by hosting an airman dinner, advocating for veteran spousal licensure before the state capitol, or raising awareness for the many wonderful contributions our base personnel contribute to our community and this nation's safety. The men and women at Robins who make up the largest industrial complex in the state are always on our minds. To highlight the importance of the Robins to our region, please help me welcome Ms. Laura Mathis, Middle Georgia Regional Commission, for some special remarks.
Good afternoon. I appreciate his vote of confidence that these are going to be special remarks. Thank you, Chairman Collins and April, for the invitation to provide remarks today. To our new mission partners, where this is your first state of the base, welcome to Middle Georgia. To Team Robbins for what you do every day, to the entire Team Robbins, we appreciate you, and as your host region, we look forward to discovering new ways that we can continue supporting you. Established in 1965, the Middle Georgia Regional Commission is proud to be part of the Middle Georgia community. Through the professional services we provide to cities and counties in our 11-county region, we assist local governments in accomplishing their visions for our vibrant, thriving communities. We have the privilege of seeing a project go from concept to reality and stand alongside our local governments as they accomplish things that they didn't think possible. The variety of work that we do extends beyond local governments. Our work in helping Middle Georgians age in place through vital programs and services connects us to the very fabric of our region, its people. From nutritious meals to in-home services and wellness programs, the lives of many are changed and made better partially by the work that we do. As a regional organization, our role is to respect the individual characteristics of each community and to weave the common thread that connects us. So when April asked me to speak today, I must admit it's a bit overwhelming. I don't have a military background. What I know about the military I have learned in my years here in Middle Georgia. Fortunately, however, I just returned from the National Association of Defense Communities National Defense Community Summit in DC. My partner in crime was Dan Rhodes from the 21st Century Partnership. And I will only speak from my perspective. Dan has his own perspective of all the tidbits that he heard. But for me, the summit not only reinforced the important mission of Robbins, it equally affirmed the vital role of as a defense community, or in my case, a defense region. I returned home re-energized that standing on the shoulders of those generations who came before us, we can, we will, and we must rise to the challenges of the next generation of opportunities. I believe that Robbins cannot fulfill its mission without a strong, resilient region. I also believe that the region cannot thrive without a strong, resilient Robbins. So I offer you some thoughts to ponder. First, we've heard the saying this morning, or this afternoon rather, and often, that every day in Middle Georgia is Armed Forces Appreciation Day, thanks to Dr. Dan Callahan. Although it was coined several decades after Robbins was established, it captured the important relationship between the base and the region. It harkened back to that telegraph that was received from Congressman Carl Vinson in 1941, letting the Middle Georgia community know that we won, that Robbins was going to be located, that an Army air depot was going to be located in a small community called Wellston. And that, to me, is the start of us showing our commitment and how we are all connected in Middle Georgia. We are one. What impacts one impacts both. For example, there's over 21,000 people who go to work every day at Robbins Air Force Base. Only about 1,000 of them actually live on base. They are our neighbors, they are our customers, they are our church members. They are not only Middle Georgians, since of course Robbins has an impact, a footprint that extends over 78 of 159 counties in Georgia. They are us. As a region, we must address the needs of Middle Georgians through the provision of services that support an exceptional quality of life. And when we identify opportunities to improve the critical infrastructure and quality of life issues, we must address them through collaboration and partnerships. These issues are so complex and so large scale that they demand us to be brave and to open to new ways as to how to approach them. Second, earlier this year, I had the opportunity to work with Public Affairs Office to take a team from the Middle Georgia Regional Commission on a base tour. This is not to flood them with tour request. But I wanted to share an insight that we had, that I had. Early in the day, I had a young team member who asked 1,000 great questions. Why exactly did we take the time to come to Robbins? I was like, okay, great opportunity. I responded by pointing out the fact that Robbins was the region's largest employer. Kind of makes a difference. We should know what goes on behind that fence. I responded to the fact that we are a small part of the national defense ecosystem that exists, and we're fortunate to have it here in Middle Georgia. I really wanted our entire team to understand, outside of the work that they do every single day, our role and how closely we are actually connected to Robbins. So we spent the day, we went to see the software groups, we went and saw the military working dogs, we saw the F-15s, we did the honor guard. So I checked back in because I thought it was amazing. I saw some stuff I hadn't seen before, and so I checked back in. How'd we do? He was overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. His father had been in the Air Force. They had been stationed in Eglin. He had no idea that there was a connection between us and Eglin. And that changed his perspective. He had driven past the fence all these years and never knew the magic sauce that happens at Robbins Air Force Base. I share this story for the community members that are here today. You clearly support Robbins because you've chosen to spend an hour and a half of your precious time here today. I would challenge us to find more ways for your teams to engage, for your teams to support the airmen and the leadership, for ways to connect. It doesn't have to be a tour, trust me. But the time is now more than ever. The Air Force, like many other branches of government, of the military, as well as private sector employers, are really challenged with recruitment. It's unprecedented, the situation that we find ourselves in. We must lead the efforts to grow the workforce of tomorrow through exposing our youth to opportunities that exist in the Air Force, through STEM activities, but also through exposure to all the career possibilities that exist. Lastly, I periodically teach a class for city and county local elected officials on regionalism. Regionalism is in my name, so it might seem a little self-serving. But I always try and help individuals understand that we are all connected and that it's okay for you to work across a geographic boundary, a city limit, a county line, that we as a society actually expect that to happen. We talk about efficiencies, we talk about economies of scale, all of that. And then I borrow a charge that was issued in 2022 from the Air Force Chief of Staff, General Brown, who let out the charge that says, we must move with purpose. We must accelerate, change, or lose. And you might think that now's not the time for us to collaborate, to work across the geographic boundaries, or to work across organizations and departments, but if not now, then when? The pace of technology and the determination of our adversaries demands it. In the past few months, Secretary Kendall and the Chief of Staff Alvin rolled out a 24-point plan to re-optimize, a whole new word for us to learn exactly what that means, to re-optimize the Air Force to meet the demands of today and tomorrow. As we learn more about that plan, I encourage us, the community, to identify opportunities for us to support Team Robbins in ways that we have not done before. We must continue what is working and be open to exploring the new approaches to the Air Force's vision for Robbins Air Force Base. The final speaker at the Defense Community Summit was General James Slife. He is the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force. And the moderator asked him sort of what keeps you up at night. Always curious to know that. And he was very clear to say that we have the best Air Force in the world. Not a question in his mind. That's not what's keeping him up at night. What's keeping him up at night is the pace at which we are accelerating to keep up with our adversaries. That nothing would make people happier, not us, of course, but our adversaries happier, than to knock us off from being number one. And that we need to move quickly to make sure, and deliberately every single day to make sure that doesn't happen. I don't know about you, but that sounds like accelerate, change, or lose. Our future depends on us continuing our dedication and commitment to supporting Team Robbins. The good news is, and you'll hear some good news from the installation today, is that just like when Middle Georgia advocated for the establishment of Robbins in 1941, when we mobilized to defend against BRAC, when we collaborated to address air quality and encroachment, we were wildly successful. We wouldn't be here today if we weren't. I have no doubt that we will remain a great American defense community. I also have no doubt that Robbins will continue to be the base of choice for the nation's national defense. It's just who we are. It is my pleasure to call up April Bragg. She is not only the president and CEO of the Chamber, she is also a staunch advocate for Robbins and a partner in crime, if you will. And she will lead us through the afternoon and moderate the rest of the day. Thank you.
All right, how's everybody doing today? Woo. Feels like everybody's holding their breath. It may be because we've got this many people in the room. I know that we're using every available seat. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to our partners here at House and Healthcare for accommodating this crowd that grows every single year. Give them a round of applause. We're just so grateful for their continued partnership. But we understand that by bringing all of you into one room at the same time, some of you may have a pole in front of you, or someone with hair that was as big as mine when I walked in the door. It's the humidity has gotten the better of my hair. But if you can't see, if you can't, see around the person, move. Just slide your chair over, get comfortable. There's a lot of information to unpack. The good news is you don't have to remember it all. We certainly encourage you guys to take notes if there's something of interest, but we're going to have a full-length video available for you because as Laura mentioned, much like the Regional Commission, our chamber is regional for a reason. We are regional because Robbins Air Force Base serves our entire state, our country, and has a global impact, the work that's done here each and every day. And a lot of the information shared today really needs some time for you to digest it. So take that time. You're going to get notes and things available on our website afterwards. So we hope that you will dial in, get to hear from some amazing mission partners on base and experiencing a great day with us. The way this is going to work, just logistically, we'll invite our various mission partners up to share the hot seat with me here. So I'll just be sipping on water and letting them tell us all the great things that are happening at Robbins. But we're going to have community members come and introduce each of them so that you can learn a little bit more about the missions that they lead. Got it? Got it. All right, we're going to follow the agenda in your printed program, and we'll start with that now. Representing Turner, and please welcome Mike Chavone. This is where you clap.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Chavone, General Manager for Terma. I've had the pleasure to introduce one of our speakers for the last 3 years now. I must say, same as April, this is the largest crowd I've seen, and soon, April, you might have to find some new space for us all. So
we'll knock out a wall.
But this really is a true testament to April and the Robbins Chamber, base leadership, community, political, and business leaders in this room, and it's something you all should really be proud of with the support that we have here. A little bit about Terma. We are a global defense company. We have an office right here in Warner Robins. Locally in Warner Robins, we're a proud supplier of electronic warfare and self-protection systems to multiple customers, including the base, U.S. Air Force, also OEMs such as Lockheed Martin, L3 Harris, and Northrop Grumman. We're happy to be part of this community. We're thrilled to be able to provide services for the warfighter, especially to the base here. We are always looking for engineers. The job market is still strong, and so I encourage anyone here with people that can help us out to check out our website at terma.com for positions for engineers and any other positions we may have. Without further ado, I will be introducing Mr. Colonel Diedrich L. Reese. Colonel Diedrich L. Reese is the 78th Air Base Wing Commander at Robins Air Force Base. He commands more than 2,700 personnel assigned to 3 groups: a communications directorate, an operations support squadron, a comptroller squadron, and 17 wing staff agencies. He is directly responsible for logistics, medical, civil engineer, security, and mission support functions, in addition to managing facilities and equipment valued at $8.1 billion and executing an operating budget of $170.8 million. He trains, deploys, and redeploys more than 1,800 airmen annually in support of the Air and Space Expeditionary Force and combatant commander requirements. Additionally, Colonel Reese serves as the installation commander, supporting the base's 54 mission partners, including a major command, an air logistics complex, and 3 wings on the nearly 7,000-acre installation, which is Georgia's largest single-site industrial complex. He is also responsible for the safety, security, morale, and welfare of more than 22,000 total force airmen assigned to Robins Air Force Base and 28,000 local dependents and retirees. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Colonel Diedrich L. Reese.
Colonel Reese, how we doing?
Oh yeah, wait a minute. Need some microphone
Nope, you're
training.
on.
There
Yep,
we
you're
go.
on.
There we go. Check.
Okay. Can y'all hear him in the back? Okay, perfect. All right, it's hard to believe that this is your first State of the Base because it feels like you've been here for quite a while now, right?
That's right.
So as I look around the room, you know, we skipped a lot of formalities just in lieu of, in respect of everyone's time, but as I mentioned earlier, we're regional for a reason. Colonel Reese, I look around and we've got federal representatives here, we've got state legislators here, we've got 4 mayors here, our county commissioners are here in attendance. We have regional partners, businesses and industry, because everybody in some way, directly or indirectly, is not only impacted by Robins, we are influenced and inspired by the work that happens at Robins. And so on behalf of everybody here, I just want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for what Robins means to this community. And oftentimes when we do this event, Colonel Reese will actually go through all of our mission partner reports first and then ask about the economic impact report, because those are the numbers everybody's waiting to hear. But you decided on your very first State of the Base to just cannonball straight into the deep end. And so we're going to start with that question. And so if you can, give us an update. What is the economic impact for FY23 of Robins Air Force Base?
So I won't stall that out for a little bit. Is that all right? And what I really want to start out with is just thanking you all for being here today, taking the time out of your busy day to celebrate this with us, to celebrate what we do on Robins Air Force Base. This is a huge turnout, and you know, we talked about this, April.
I know.
We talked about this. So I think it's time to move State of the Base on the base. So
Say a little prayer.
So April and I have been talking about that, and you know, trying to figure out what that looks like. So stay tuned to a State of the Base near you, and we'll work on getting this onto the installation. But again, thank you all for being here. Okay, so we all know that Robins Air Force Base is a huge economic engine to Middle Georgia and the state of Georgia. Provides a lot of the economy and you know, prosperity, just a better way of life here in Middle Georgia. And the results of that over the past year we generated $3.8 billion to the state of Georgia and Middle Georgia.
Woo!
Billion with a B. So that's 7.5% increase over last year. So a lot of work, a lot of development, a lot of things have happened over the course of the year to get there. And we still have some work to do. We still have room to grow. But if we take that 3.8 and break it down, 1.1 billion of that is goods and services from the local community, Middle Georgia and the state, that we need in order to operate and function on the installation. So $1.1 billion that we put back into the community to help us operate as an installation. Our payroll alone is $2.7 billion. That's $2.7 billion back into the economy, back into Middle Georgia, the community, our Houston County, Macon, Bibb, Dooley, all of the governing locations around the installation. $2.7 billion from our payroll. But those two things, there's room for improvement for both of those, goods and services. There's good news with that because we're still growing on the installation as far as assigned personnel. You all know we got mission change across the installation, and right now we're back in the growth period of personnel actually showing up to execute those missions. So there's more people coming. There's going to be need for more goods and services. So that's going to increase. With that being said, we have vacancies on the installation as well on our civilian side. So there's over 850 vacancies right now on the installation. That's an additional, just those vacancies alone is an additional $76 million that we left on the table this past year. To help that, we're going to start on a strategic hiring campaign. We talked about recruiting earlier. That was mentioned earlier. And this is part of that. That's part of recruiting our civilian personnel, our civilian airmen on the installation. So mark your calendars for 30 April because we'll have a hiring event at the Museum of Aviation for job for careers such as IT, telecommunications, engineers, human resource management. So you don't have to wear a uniform to work on Robins Air Force Base. You don't have to wear a uniform to defend our country and to serve. There's right now 850 civilian vacancies on the installation. So we look forward to seeing you out there and supporting us with that.
That's a lot of growth opportunity right there.
Absolutely.
And you guys also support our families. I know it was mentioned in Michael's opening remarks about spousal licensure, and Representative Ballard's in the back of the room. I want to thank her for carrying that House bill. But talk a little bit about that. Let's lean into that for a minute.
Yeah, so I'll address that. House Bill 880, Representative Ballard, thank you. So what that does is we people, permanent changes of station, get assigned to Robins Air Force Base. And with that, they, most of them have families. Most of our service members have families. And their spouses are licensed and certified for specific career fields in other states. Well, those certifications don't always transfer to the state that they PCS to. So thanks to Representative Ballard and our other leaders across the state, they got this bill over the line, and now our spouses can get to work here in Middle Georgia, right, and contribute to the economy. So that's a huge win for us. That is huge for our families. They're out in your businesses now. That's extra income going towards your businesses and services across the community. So that's a huge win there. Thank you for that, ma'am. Thank you for helping us with that.
And obviously the relationship between Robins and the private sector as it relates to contractors. Robins keeps the money circulating here locally. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So alone, $6 billion in contracts is what we spend. And that's nationally. But here in the state, $500 million in contracts go to the state. And of that, $200 million right here in the Middle Georgia area. So to give an example of one of those contracts, we store natural gas on the installation for several reasons. But here locally, we contract that out to a local contractor, $33 million alone for that gas contract. So just think about across the installation and the support that's required, what you can provide and how you can help us with that. So again, $6 billion in contracts across the country, and just here locally, $200 million of that is spent in Middle Georgia. So thank you for those that are contributing. Looking forward to those that have services and goods and things that will help us execute our mission.
Yeah. So bottom line, Robbins is a powerful economic engine. So that's not just a slogan that we say. This is just a small glimpse of what that looks like in action.
Absolutely.
So I mentioned this being your first state of the base, but obviously you've been here for a little while now, going on a year. So as the new base commander, can you tell us a little bit more about your vision as well as the lines of effort?
So Ms. Mathis talked earlier about the establishment of the base back in 1941. Can you believe we are 17 years away from our 100th year anniversary? That's right around the corner. Our airmen that will serve then are being born right now. Yep, General McEnroe. So they're being born right now. So my vision is Robbins 2041. We got 17 years to do the thing that our Secretary of the Air Force is asking us to do. His priorities, he's got 3 priorities. China, China, and China. So in my vision for the installation, and primarily the 78th Air Base Wing, in order to get after his priorities, I prioritize readiness, Robbins Proud culture, and Team Robbins. We've been talking about some of that here so far. When I talk about Robbins Ready, that's preparing our airmen, our installation, and improving our processes so that we can compete against China and our near-peer competitors, right? In this new state of global power competition, great power competition, right? So readiness is key. Preparing our airmen, the infrastructure across the installation. We have to modernize our infrastructure. Over 50 years old are some of our infrastructure systems. And General Eberlin's complex, being the #1 industrial complex in the state, we need those systems to be modernized so that we can continue the output that he's required to keep us in the fight, to keep our aircraft in the fight. So it's imperative that we get after readiness. It's imperative that we get after our Robbins Proud culture. And that's the development of our airmen. Chairman Perdue brought a team out to our professional development session and was able to sit front row seat in how we are deliberate about developing our airmen, training them, and just providing that natural culture, that airmanship, that pride about being in the service and serving. So we are very deliberate about getting after that and being proud. Team Robbins, we talked about it. We're lowering the fence just a little bit, and we're going to do that today. You're going to hear some from my teammates and mission partners on what's going on behind the fence, right? Some of that, we need to keep the fence line down and allow you inside the installation. So we're working on that. This is part of it. I just mentioned, the vision of having state of the base on the installation. So that's a part of it, to give you the experience of, you contribute so much to the installation, but that's us showing you what that contribution does, how it contributes to the mission, and how we contribute to the fight. Our installation is a power projection platform. We are needed in this high-end fight, in this competition against China, Russia, and Iran. A lot of that goes on right behind the fence, and you'll hear some of that from our mission partners. And the power projection platform of the installation has to do with providing that service or product to our airmen. And if I can share a story with you, I'm not too far removed from being on the other side of receiving a product or service from Robins Air Force Base. Because I spent the majority of my career on the platforms that come out of General Eberlin's ALC, right? I spent the majority of my career needing a part or a component from my aircraft while I was deployed or my team was deployed. I spent the majority of my career needing the engineers to provide guidance to help me get my fleet back into the fight. I've called the engineers here personally to talk to them to help me do that. So now that I'm in this seat and I have the ability to affect and impact the airmen that I just left out in the field, I just visited Cannon Air Force Base for the Air Commando maintainers out there, spent time with them, and they need us. They need us more now than ever so that we maintain our competitive edge, so that we still remain at the tip of the spear and provide that fear of we will remain the #1 Air Force, as General Slack has said. So it's imperative that you are part of that. You are part of what we do on a daily basis, and everything that you contribute to our mission, every opportunity that we have to engage with you and bring you into the installation, that helps improve our impact on what we do for the United States Air Force and our country.
Colonel Reese, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Let us know how we can continue to support Team Robins, and we look forward to hearing from the rest of the mission partners coming up. Thank you.
Thank you.
From Mercer University, please welcome Dr. Penny Elkins.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good. Thank you, Colonel Reese. It's always so inspiring to hear you, sir. April, thank you for doing this. April talks a lot about all of you in the room, and she brags on all of us community leaders and the region. But I just want to take a moment to brag on our friend and our leader at Robins Chamber, who does an amazing job. So, thank you. Mercer University is so proud to sponsor this. Everyone who gets up here will say that. And it's true. There's an authenticity in this group and in this region that my friend Laura talked about that is just pervasive. We travel across this country. We get the honor to do that. April, Laura, and I happen to be civic leaders for the Air Force Material Command. And we get to travel actually next week to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base together. And we go across our nation at various bases and commands and installations. And y'all, there is something special about Robins. There's something special about this community. So we want to say thank you for that. Mercer University is so proud to do this. Y'all, you've heard me say this because we have a very long history of supporting our military and military-connected families. As a matter of fact, our School of Engineering was literally stood up. It was created in 1985 specifically to provide engineers for Robins Air Force Base. We have proudly served that mission, and today, as you will hear from our next speaker, Mercer University provides 25% of the engineering workforce at Robins Air Force Base. Pretty impressive, isn't it? Yeah, I heard that a lot. We said that too when we found out that number. That's pretty amazing. Not only do we do that, but we also provide education programs, as you well know, in other areas, which Colonel Reese, you just said. I made sure our folks heard it. April 30, you know we will be there to help out in terms of business and engineering, of course, but also computer science, cybersecurity, and so many more. At our Mercer table right there, we've got two of our amazing deans. Laura Lackey, Engineering Dean, raise your hand. Julie Petherbridge, School of Business Dean, raise your hand. So if y'all want to talk to them about further programs and education, please do so. Last thing I'll say about Mercer, and this is not about Mercer as much as it is about our mission, You might have seen in the paper last week that, y'all, we were voted, ranked, #1 gold school in the nation for being a military-friendly school. I am so proud of that, y'all, because what it means is our authenticity in the way we serve our military, our veterans, and our military-connected families is true. And other folks are recognizing that, and we just couldn't be more proud to once again be #1 in the nation for that. So, okay, but my real task today is what? It is to introduce my friend, and I'm looking at him. Would you just smile pretty please? Thank you. So, Brigadier General John Eberlin. I already told you he's my friend, and I'll give you some anecdotes about that. We were laughing at the table when he said, "What are you going to say?" I said, don't worry. And I showed him my script, and he goes, "Oh, that's my bio on the website." And I said, "Oh, but there's a lot more that I'm going to tell about you than your bio on the website." General Eberlin is the commander of Warner Robins Air Logistics Complex. You heard Colonel Reese talk about that and its relationship to the installation that Colonel Reese leads. He has been an amazing leader. He is strategic, of course, and thoughtful, as all of these leaders are. I will tell you that he is responsible, as you heard Colonel Reese just say, for the maintenance, the repair, the overall sustainment of not only components, but our beloved aircraft, like the C-130, the F-15, the C-5, the C-17, and others. And he is responsible for making sure that our airmen out there who are in a position to accelerate and win have the aircraft and the components that they need to be able to do that. He is not only a great leader, but he is thoughtful in terms of the productivity of getting those mission commands executed and executed quickly. We were out there on the base recently. He has invited Mercer, speaking of lowering the fence and opening the gates, he has invited our faculty, staff, and students out to the complex such that we can see the importance of not only what he's doing, but how we then can provide workforce and fill in those needs and development around all of his maintenance and sustainment areas. Finally, I will say he is a great friend. We have traveled together to the Senior Leaders Conference up at Wright-Patterson. He and his wife Sherry are considered our friends, as his daughter Courtney is, who is actually in college out in Texas right now. Speaking of Texas, General Eberlin, he may be from East Texas, but I'll tell you, General Eberlin, Middle Georgia will claim you any day. All right. Welcome, General Eberlin.
How we doing?
Great.
I think it's on. Yeah. So this is not your first day at the base.
It's not.
It's not. You're actually going on your third year.
I haven't quite completed 2
Right,
yet.
right.
This is my second state of the base.
Right. Finishing your second stay at the base, but you're going into your third year.
Not quite.
Okay. That's what public affairs gave me.
We don't hit 2 years till June.
Okay, fair. All right, so 2 years in June. All right, so we're almost there.
Almost there.
So let's talk about wherever we are in your timeline. Let's just talk about this year. Can we do that? Let's talk about this year.
We can.
So if you can, share with us your focus for the year. And, we talk a lot about the legacy of leadership we have here in this community and at Robins. What legacy is it that you want to leave?
So 2023 for our Air Logistics Complex was a record year in terms of aircraft production. We overhauled 141 aircraft, delivered them back to the warfighter. 2022, we did 130. So we did 11 more in 2023. We're on track in fiscal year 2024 to do even more than what we did last year. And that is incredibly important, as Colonel Reese highlighted, to the men and women in the field who are responsible for employing combat power. And so, you know, one of my goals moving forward is to institutionalize some of the improvements we've made in terms of our processes, as well as continue the culture that we're developing for accountability, transparency, credibility, and engagement. Because that is so important. You know, when I'm pulling a page, you know, and I know there are a lot of Georgia Bulldog fans here. I am not. I root for the Texas Longhorns, even though my daughter graduated undergrad from Baylor, which is a sore spot with her. But you have to appreciate consistent excellence in terms of what Georgia and some of the other top tier college football programs have been able to do. And so that's what we're after. Is sustained excellence and continue to grow and improve and continue to deliver more and more readiness and more combat capability to the warfighter. Now, in terms of the future of what, you know, the complex, you know, that's the production side of the business. But we talked a lot about, you know, accelerate, change, or lose, great power competition. We've heard it all. You know, pacing threat China, acute threat Russia. The complex we have today is not going to be sufficient for what we need for tomorrow. And so, in terms of that, it's modernizing what we do. We're recognized as the leader in terms of the defense industrial base, you know, within the different depots across the Department of Defense. We're recognized as a leader in robotics. And so we have to continue to incorporate more and more automation and robotics, artificial intelligence and machine learning in our processes, because that allows us to provide more capacity, more capability to the warfighter, and to be able to move faster. You know, it doesn't mean it's going to be mean more jobs. It's going to mean a different type of technician, if you will, that's going to have to understand automation a lot more. However, you know, and engineers. I mean, we're hiring engineers just like everyone else, and I can't thank Dr. Elkins enough for what she's done for us in the partnership that, you know, was there long before John Everlin showed up to Robins Air Force Base. So, you know, it's producing, but it's also keeping an eye towards the future. And then when you look at the 3 depots, there are 3 Air Force depots. We have one here in Middle Georgia. There's one in Oklahoma City, and there's one in Utah, which is the Ogden Air Logistics Complex. We have to become more interoperable with the other 2 depots in terms of standardization and processes, because we have to be able to backstop one another. Like if the warfighter demands a certain level of service, and it's maybe not necessarily something that we're used to producing at Robins, but the automation is such now that you can put the same equipment in one depot that you do in another, and then it's all driven by software. It allows us to backstop one another and provide more capability to the warfighter when and where they need it.
Very good. Can you explain the importance of the Warner Robins Air Logistics Complex within the larger Air Force mission and within the National Defense Strategy?
So, National Defense Strategy, that's at Secretary of Defense level, you know, complex strategy at my level, 3 levels of strategies and priorities in between. So I'll just talk about 3 of the major focus areas in the National Defense Strategy and how we're getting after some of those. Because the Air Force Strategy, the Air Force Material Command Strategy, the Air Force Sustainment Center Strategy, and our strategy in the complex are all linked to the National Defense Strategy. So I'll just go to 3 focus areas in the National Defense Strategy. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to tell Amy to start preparing dinner if you went through all of them.
So 3 of the main focus areas: integrated deterrence, campaigning, and building enduring advantages. Integrated deterrence is basically affecting an adversary's decision calculus to make restraint the more preferred option than aggression. And so in terms of what we're doing, 1, it's aircraft production, because you have to have fielded forces when and where you need them, and you have to, and that comes from the complex in terms of providing aircraft to the field and providing them, when and where they need them, so we can affect, basically the outcome of conflict. Also, resilience comes into play in terms of our complex, in terms of, the resiliency of our infrastructure to be able to handle disruptions in power, plant services, HVAC. It also involves more and more the cyber threat, because we're becoming more and more automated, and we have to have cyber resiliency, and you have to have resiliency within the infrastructure. And finally, it's the new workloads that are coming online that we have to prepare for. B-21 is out. We're going to have a play in that workload, but you just don't automatically snap a finger and you're ready to do a new type of workload. You have to be able to put the people, you have to be able to have the facilities, the equipment, and everything to handle the workload that it requires. And that's the other part. It requires a lot of planning, and we have to get as far out in front of that as we can. Campaigning is basically aligning military objectives and capabilities to strategic objectives and outcomes. And so with us, campaigning at its essence is basically the fight. It's the men and women, at the tip of the spear, employing air power, each and every day. And with us, it's continuing to produce and providing the iron when and where they need it, but it's also the spare parts that we overhaul and provide, and working with the supply chain. We have to make sure that everything that we have is on the shelf and is where the warfighter needs it when they need it. And finally, it's the men and women who do aircraft battle damage repair in our complex. I have a group of military personnel who their sole purpose in life is to repair battle damaged aircraft. And it is a level of skill that operational units do not have, in terms of the kinds of things they're able to do. That you're talking about major structural damage, that happens in conflict, and being able to have a team or have that capability to go out and to be able to turn aircraft around and make it mission capable after it sustains significant damage is a huge force multiplier. And finally, building enduring advantages. This is how we produce and manage your capability. And then getting into that, it's basically it's the technology insertion that I talked about from the previous question, that we have to do well and continue to push the envelope on that. It's one of General Richardson's main priorities, who's the Air Force Material Command Commander, is digital material management, which General Richardson's vision is to have a digital acquisition lifecycle. And that has to be completely digital in terms of the research and development, the acquisition, test, and then sustainment, which is what we do in the complex, which is the sustainment part of it. And if you didn't know, sustainment is typically 70% of a weapon system's life cycle cost. And so when it's all fused together digitally, it makes us more agile, and it provides more options in terms of things we can do and pursue to provide more readiness to the warfighter. And finally, revitalization of the organic industrial base and the defense industrial base. We have probably what I would say a 1980s, 1990s plan. We have to get into the 21st century in terms of technology, but we are moving, and we are moving fast. And make no mistake, we talk about great power competition. Sustainment and logistics are going to play a key role in terms of whether or not how well we compete and win in great power competition. And sustainment is the major singular focus of our depot, and we are committed to providing the combat capability of our men and women to be able to fight our nation's wars and defend our nation and our way of life. So I cannot thank this community enough for what they do. I'm glad we have the opportunity to stay another year here. It's been a lot of fun. I love being here. It's one of the few places where people I don't get asked all the time, hey, where are you from?
We'll claim you.
And sometimes I'm a bit of a smart aleck and say Boston or New York.
Well, General Evelyn, thank you so much for sharing that great report with us. It's always a pleasure, and I'm glad we get to hang on to you for another year. Thank you so much. Please welcome Sarah Murph with Parish Construction Group. Y'all clap. We've got a long way off.
Thank you. At Parish, we're one of Georgia's largest contractors serving clients in education, industrial, healthcare, and municipal across the state. But our motto is to build great, and that includes communities and the ones that we serve. So what better way to do that than to support an event like today? The opportunity to have an event that combines industry leaders and military leaders in one room is truly unique. And I'm thankful to the Chamber for being such a facilitator of an event like today. So thank you, April, for living out your motto of being a convener of leaders and influencers. I am now happy to introduce our next speaker. Brigadier General Kelvin McElroy is the commander, 4th Generation Center, Air Force Reserve Command, Robins Air Force Base, Georgia. The 4th Generation Center is a single organization responsible for generating Air Force Reserve forces by leveraging reserve strategic capability to meet operational needs in support of global force management. The 4th Generation Center performs all aspects of force generation to include oversight, visibility, and accountability of about 70,000 Air Force Reserve forces.
A bit of an obstacle course here, but welcome. So glad to have you. We talked earlier about, Laura mentioned in her report about the 21,000 people employed by the base, with only 1,000 of those that actually live on base. And so when we think about, you do see that more than others, our friends and neighbors being the people that are serving at Robins. That's not seen any greater than with the Reserve Command. So if you can share a little bit about the local impact that Air Force Reserve Command has at Robins Air Force Base.
Yes, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm here representing also the headquarters for the Air Force Reserve Command, although I'm the commander for the 4th Generation Center, which is the center that's a part of the headquarters. So the Air Force Reserve Command, for those that are not familiar, is the headquarters. It's a major command, one of 9 major commands. So the headquarters has about 1,600 full-time employees that work on the base, that are indirectly or directly involved in 11 organizations on the base, and their responsibility is to make sure that we have combat-ready forces. So 70,000 combat-ready forces globally are prepared and ready to support our combat commanders. So in FY23, the Reserve Command contributed to about $300 million to the economy here, the local economy here, with jobs, with 1,000 indirect jobs to the local economy.
That's amazing. So here's one of the words that Laura told us to be on the lookout for, so this will be my first time using it in one of my questions. But what impact will re-optimizing under the Great Power Competition bring to the Air Force Reserve?
So General Healy, who's our commander, so basically his thing is ready now and transformer for the future. And that was just when he took command, that was his motto, his charge to us: ready now and transformer for the future. And then Secretary Kimball came on with GPC, optimizing for the future. So basically, what that means is the Air Force Reserve is ready now. Within 72 hours, we're ready, just like our counterpart, our total force. We're ready to go, and active duty is ready to go. So when the Air Force is modernizing, we are modernizing as well. So we're making sure that we're providing and also ready when the Air Force is ready. And how do we do that? So basically, we're making sure that we have the same equipment, that we have the same capabilities, and we're trained to the standard that our Air Force is trained to. And a fact that a lot of people don't know, even though it says Air Force Reserve, but we're in every subset, every mission that the Air Force has. And so basically, we're there every day doing the mission. So basically, we're modernizing, we're transforming as they transform. So there's no different, there's no bolt on. We're there every day, ready now.
Very good. So those are the questions I had for you, and it feels like a speed round after the last two speakers. But I want to give you an opportunity, though. If there's a recruiting message here for reservists that you want to share.
Yeah. So I'm quite sure. So the Air Force Reserve Command, I'm quite sure we have probably some people that are part of the Air Force Reserve Command here in this audience. So as an opportunity to plug for hiring, the great thing about the Air Force Reserve Command, you can serve locally and also continue to serve. So even those that are thinking about leaving active duty, it's called continuous service. The Air Force Reserve Command is a great way to do that. Also, I would like to say thanks to the community, because I am what they call return on investment. I'm a local boy. I was born and raised here in Middle Georgia, and so I'm proud to be able to come back and say that thank you, Middle Georgia, for producing one of your very best.
I love it. Yeah, we got our friends from Macon over in the corner, so you can say hi on the way out. Chairman Floyd, thank you so much. Please welcome Jeremy Nelms with Flint Energies. Told you it was an obstacle course.
My bad. Good afternoon. I tried to make up a little time with my walk up there because I was going to give everybody a history lesson, but I'm not, because Ms. Mathis already did that. My name is Jeremy Nelms. I'm the president and CEO of Flint Energies. So for those of you that don't know, the Flint is one of 41 electric membership corporations across the state of Georgia. We provide power to more than 95,000 homes and businesses across our 17-county territory, with many of those meters right here in Houston County. I want to thank my friends at Robbins Regional Chamber for inviting me to share a little bit about the impact Robbins Air Force Base has on Flint and the Flint system. You know, Ms. Mathis said, a little bit of history lesson, right? 1941, got the telegraph. In 1941, Flint had six accounts at this little whistle-stop town of Wellston. Well, in September of 1942, the Flint board took a huge step, a leap of faith, and decided that they would extend power lines to the first 500 homes and businesses surrounding the new Wellston airfield. And since then, Robbins Air Force Base and the metropolitan area that has grown up around it has helped Flint to become one of the largest electric cooperatives in the nation. And to give you a little bit more perspective on that, over 70% of the nearly 100,000 meters that Flint serves in our 17-county territory is within a 10-mile radius of that front gate of Robbins Air Force Base. So suffice it to say, Robbins Air Force Base is a tremendous asset to the growth and sustainment of Flint. And all I can hope is that Robbins Air Force Base feels the same way about us. So, on a personal note, I have had the pleasure of serving as honorary commander for the 461st Air Control Wing over the past 2 years. And during this time, I have had the pleasure to be introduced to many impressive airmen who are working daily to complete the mission laid out before them. One such individual is Colonel Adam Shelton. Colonel Shelton is the commander of the 461st Air Control Wing. He is responsible for the wing transition from being JSTARS focused to new and emerging ground-based tactical command and control weapon systems. His wing trains, prepares, and deploys troops and equipment for combat missions
in specific areas, providing constant command, control, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance support to the Joint Force Commander. Additionally, he manages the mobilization and deployment of command and control systems and the deployable air traffic control and landing system, which I saw in Perry last week. It's pretty neat. And these support both military operations in various locations and humanitarian missions during peacetime. It is my pleasure to introduce Colonel Shelton. Thank you.
Yeah, just jump on up. We're an informal bunch here. So thank you for being here. With the 461st tends to get a lot of stage time at State of the Base, and the incredible transformation that y'all are going through now. Let's talk a little bit about when transitioning from flying missions to ground-based missions. There is obviously a required personnel swap. What has been or have been your biggest personnel lessons learned during this transition?
Yeah, appreciate it. And first off, just thanks again for the opportunity. Thanks again for the venue and the ability to engage and have some conversations just about what the change is going through. It's unique in that the Air Force right now, I'd say the only constant is change. And with our organization, we are really feeling the strain of that. So transitioning from a mission partnership with the 116th that you'll hear shortly from, as that last JSTARS left in November of this past year, our organization has really turned the corner and say, what does ground operations mean for us? And how do we go from wearing a flight suit every day to now wearing this uniform and be more focused on external operations from a CONUS base? That really kind of laid it into what ACC's moniker is, which is mission first, people always. So using that theme, I'll say from a mission perspective, what we have really anchored down on is the discussion that basically empowerment is a bias to action. If you give people the tools and the capability and the vision of where you want to go, and then give them the opportunity to spread their wings and attack the problems, that empowerment will bias them towards action, then you just let them run. We've seen that as we've started to actually do some of the transition with our new organizations we've stood up recently. You've probably heard of the recent Battle Management Command and Control Squadron here locally. We're standing up a second at a geographically separated location, and we're retooling our Air Operations Squadron to get after what the combat forces need as we look to what agile combat deployment actually is going to require. If you're going to be hopping from location to location with different airframes, you got to have more airfield operations people are just as mobile and just as flexible. So that's really been the genesis of our discussion from the mission side of the house is empower the people and let them run after it. And from the people side of the house, it's been a unique discussion that when you do have a massive swap out of your people, what we learned is that you can direct compliance, but you can only grow a culture. You can't direct a culture change. And I think that's a conversation that Colonel Reese and I have quite a bit as he's tackling his line of effort and what we're trying to do locally on the base, but just internal to our organization, what does that culture look like, and how do you plant the seeds to let it grow as you marry it up to the compliance aspects of what's coming down from the top. So some things that we've really looked at is from a standpoint of how we take an orchestrated and phased approach to the development of our people, much like what General Everlin was hitting to is how he's tackling within the ALC. We're really taking it from a lens of giving the opportunity to train our people, but also develop the people so that when they do return to the civilian world after this service is complete, whenever that is in their career, that they're ready to plug back in and continue that type of development.
Very good. What concerns, if any, does the 461st Air Control Wing's leadership have for the local community when the organization transitions to a local 24/7 mission?
It's a very unique one. As an Air Force material base, with an air component, well, with a mission partner on base from the ACC side of the house, the AFMC base will be a 24/7 operations headquarters. You will have a focus of the ground personnel here locally that will be supporting overseas mission sets, not from an airplane, but from a building or multiple buildings. You've seen a lot of the publicity has probably been published about the stand-up of our new Battle Management Operations Center, which we share with 3 other partners that you'll hear shortly. But that facility will be a fighting building. That will be the weapon system that our personnel will employ out of here locally, and then a few others throughout the CONUS. That mindset of becoming a 24/7 operation presence where you're conducting combat operations does bring some, I won't use the word concern, but some questions of just, are we ready to be able to manage that? Specifically, childcare. Childcare is something I'm constantly going back to because I have a 2-year-old myself, and trying to figure out what that looks like in navigating just from either on base or external to support that's there. The other side of that is, as we're in the middle of the transition, as we heard earlier about the ramp up of the people that are coming here locally to support our operation, we are going to be bringing younger airmen, both officer and enlisted, who probably will be single. A lot of Middle Georgia, which I absolutely love since being stationed here, is very family oriented. But when we bring in more of the single, younger population, the ability to support them from either a housing standpoint or an entertainment standpoint, when we do have a 24/7 presence, is definitely something that we're thinking about and would love to have a conversation with some of the local community partners to be able to support that. And then the last piece of this would just be continued sustainment of events like this. The overall advocacy that this body brings is absolutely critical to making sure that not only our mission gets done, but that we feel supported, that we have an understanding that there's a community that's got its arms wrapped around us as we're trying to take care of the business that the government's given us.
Thank you so much, Colonel Shelton. If the business leaders in the room are hearing, this is the demand signal that we look for. I'm sitting here staring at Gracie Rigby with Rigby's Entertainment Complex. This is the reason quality of life is so important. This is the reason the Chamber being involved in advocacy efforts around housing and childcare and all these other human interest topics, if you will. It matters because it's impacting the base. It matters because it's impacting the men and women that serve us, both in uniform and in civil service. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we'll hear from the other side of the house in just a second. Representing Rigby's Entertainment Complex, please welcome Gracie Rigby.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, as was mentioned, one of the things that the new incomers of Middle Georgia need is entertainment, and that's what we fill the void for and help provide. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do at Rigby's and our affiliated sites to give you an idea. And I just want to express before I get started how much I love the Middle Georgia region. So if you hear someone that says something negative, direct them my way and I'll be happy to correct them. About how much I love Warner Robins, Macon, Perry, Fort Valley, and everything in the 2-hour radius. I was just about born and bred here, came back, I live and work here. I'm very passionate about supporting the Middle Georgia region, and that comes with supporting Robins Air Force Base. So, on behalf of the Best Western Plus Executive Residency at Rigby's Waterworld in Warner Robins, Georgia on Highway 96, I would like to thank all of you that stay with us, that celebrate with us, and continue to make us your #1 destination for leisure and business in Middle Georgia. Since 2013, we have hosted your early morning meetings, extended stays, your holiday parties, your Unite and Wingman days, and the most fun of all, your promotion and retirement parties. So we posted these at the Entertainment Complex, the Waterworld, Gracie's a Rooftop Bar, and Walk On Sports Bistro. So again, if you need fun, come find me. So I want to tell you a little bit about our next speaker. His formal bio, Colonel Christopher Dunlap, is the commander of the 116th Air Control Wing, Robins Air Force Base, Georgia. He is responsible for the worldwide employment of the E-87 Joint Surveillance Target Attack Radar System. This wing trains, mobilizes, and deploys combat mission-ready aircraft, air crews, and support personnel to designated theaters of operation and conducts sustained operations, providing uninterrupted command, control, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance in support of the Joint Air Force Component Commander. Now, I was in attendance in February to the Military Affairs Center that Colonel Dunlap spoke at, and he has an extensive career with first the Air Force and subsequently the Air National Guard, and he has worked just about every position you can in making a plane fly. So this colonel has worked to get the plane off the ground with the crew. He has navigated in the skies, and he has flown the plane. Even when the engine blows, they turn around and go back out and complete that mission. So we are in good hands with Colonel Christopher Dunlap, and as a fellow Leadership Robins alum, you can trust me when I say that we are in good hands at the 116th Air Control Wing. So it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Colonel Dunlap.
It's the new entryway, yeah. I hope everybody has long legs that's coming after you. So Colonel Dunlap, great to see you. Thank you for being here with us today. So Gracie mentioned you being a leadership alum through your many years of service with the Air Force and now with Air National Guard. How long have you been at Robins?
I've been here officially since 1996.
1996. And so when you hear people talk about Warner Robins and Housing County being transient, there's a little bit of truth in that, but there's a lot of opportunities where people come and stay. He was actually my son's soccer coach back in the day, and so these really are our friends and neighbors, and it's great to have you sitting up here with us today. So we heard a little bit from Colonel Shelton about the work that y'all do together, but I would love for you to share about the progress on the new missions coming to the 116th.
Sure, absolutely. And once again, just like the other leadership, I'd like to say thank you for the event and all the folks that attended today. So right up front, just for some of the new folks that may be in the room, the Georgia Air National Guard has been in business since 1946. We've been through 14 different weapon systems, and we've got components spread out across the state. Here at Robins, we've been here since about 1996, and I was one of the guys that got imported in from the state of Pennsylvania, and I can honestly say now that I've lived in Georgia longer than I've lived in any other state that I've been part of in my life. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
As far as the Guard goes, we have 4 different groups, so we're a complete wing, which makes us a little bit different than some of the other tenants. And when Colonel Reese was talking about economic impact, it made me think about it, and I sent a quick text to my comptroller. The Georgia, your 116th organization here has about $107 million economic impact to the local community. So we're not a full-time military organization. About half of our employees, approximately 1,500, are guardsmen, meaning they have other careers, and some of them are students, and they have other jobs and things in the local community. And then part-time, just like the reserve side of the house, they come on status and they serve their country. So I thought it was good that everybody kind of, gets, I guess, reblued on what the National Guard is. As far as the mission goes, what I would say, like back in the day when I flew bombers, we are on time, on target. So Colonel Shelton is moving out on the battle management piece, and you heard from him. We have a contingent of our organization that will be associated with his team, and they're moving out. And then the classified portion of our mission set is also on time, on target. So let's talk about jobs. Let's talk about what we call in the military the unit manning document, because that's the official document that the United States Air Force blesses and then passes down to the organization at the field level, that gives you the authority and the funding and the programmatics to start filling that document with the right types of people, skill sets, and rank to do the mission set that you've been tasked to do. Well, we received those. We received those in April, beginning of this month. So I now have 2 UMDs tied to 2 new mission sets that we are beginning to move people from our legacy J-Stars UMD to now these 2 new mission sets. And what does that mean? That means the Air Force has officially made the decision that they're going to support and sustain these missions for many years to come. Our military requirement for both operations and maintenance is actually going to grow. As far as full-time resourcing and the folks that we have in both organizations that will be full-time employees, that is going to stay at about a zero balance. So we won't gain any, we won't lose any. We're going to move some of those resources around. But the total number of military positions will grow. The other unique, part of this mission set is the number of officer positions will also grow. So what you're going to see over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, just like the other senior leaders that were up here giving you their recruiting spiel, the Georgia Air National Guard will look out to the community, and we're going to ask for new and young officers, college graduates, to think about being a member in the Georgia Air National Guard. We have some very unique skill sets that we'll need in the future, just like some of the technologies that you were hearing about from General Eberlin. There's lots of career fields that are now tied to technology and 5th and 6th generation platforms. And the Georgia Air National Guard and Robins Air Force Base with these 2 missions will be part of that. So we are on time and on target.
Very good. And you touched on this, but I want to make sure we capture this. Talk about career fields we're going to need in the future. Can you share anything about plans being finalized on jobs or opening for airmen in career fields no longer being used under the commissions?
Yeah, so the first thing that we do, the first thing that we started doing when we received the UMDs is you got to kind of look at what's compatible and what's not compatible. So you take the legacy skill sets and the legacy, what we call AFCs in the Air Force, and you find compatible positions on the new unit manning document that's tied to the new missions. Those you can move right across. Then after you do that, you look at what's left over. These are the vacancies, these are the new types of skills, these are the careers we're going to have to build. And these are the people that maybe their job has been attrited out with the legacy weapon system. So we go to them first, and we ask them, what would you like to do? Do you have the skills? Do you have the academic knowledge? Maybe for some of those skill sets, they have to take another ASVAB or AFOQT test. But then once you have that and you can figure out where the matches are through volunteerism, then you can start filling those new vacancies. But what's required is, for some of these people, they're going to have to go to training. And that means that they may be separated for their family for anywhere from 5 months to maybe 2 years, depending upon what that new career field is. And I think because of that, some of the more senior folks may elect possibly to retire. So the goodness about that is most of your guardsmen that retire stay in the local community because this is where they've lived for the last 20 years. So many of the business owners that are out here in the crowd, you may have a new pool of people that are looking for employment. The other good part of that is when they attrit out, now we can start tapping into the next generation. And I think with some of the technical programs and some of the STEM programs and the things that this community's done and built up, I think we got a good pool of local people that we can then pull from, advertise, and then fill those positions with.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Thank you so much for that report and all the clarity it provided. See you around. From Middle Georgia State University, please welcome Dr. Kevin Cantwell.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you. April, Orly, Michael, thank you for having us here on behalf of the University System of Georgia, Middle Georgia State University. President Christopher Blake and Provost Jenks send their greetings. Middle Georgia State has a portfolio of 5 major regional campuses. We have a fully online degree program campus as well. We are known as an access institution. and we are becoming known as an access institution for graduate degrees also. We talk about families who have students in their family who graduate, who are the first in their families to graduate with a college degree, and now they are the first in their family to graduate with a master's or a doctoral degree. Middle Georgia State University is Georgia's newest state university, and as I've indicated, we have a large portfolio of professional master's degrees, and we have 2 new doctoral degrees as well, one in IT and our newest one in public safety. We are honored to have been partners with Robins Air Force Base for decades and with our many Houston County friends. These relationships are critical to the success of the region, to our students and their families. And now I'd like to introduce Colonel Eric Steele and Lieutenant Colonel Scott Savini. Colonel.
Yeah, y'all can start walking now.
You can move up as I talk, thank you. Colonel Eric Steele is the commander, 319 Operations Group, 319th Reconnaissance Wing, Grand Forks Air Force Base, North Dakota. He is responsible for the operations, maintenance, and training of the Air Force's worldwide RQ-4B Global Hawk, E-11A aircraft and personnel. Lieutenant Colonel Scott Savini is the commander, 18th Airborne Command and Control Squadron, Robins Air Force Base, Georgia. The 18th ACCS employs the Battlefield Airborne Communications Network weapon system as a multifaceted, dedicated communication system providing military commanders a versatile means of exchanging information from multiple air, ground, and maritime sources to include host nations, joint, and coalition partners. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Thank you both for being with us. I've got 2 questions, and so if y'all both want to chime in or however you want to handle those, will be great. So we'll just start off, because this is brand new for us here. What is the mission of the 18th Airborne Command and Control Squadron?
Sure, I'll answer that pretty easily. So thank you for hosting us. Obviously, I'm the one non-local here. My home station is Grand Forks Air Force Base, North Dakota, home of the 319th Reconnaissance Wing, as mentioned. One of our squadrons, by chance, happens to be here as a geographically separated unit. That is the 18th Airborne Command and Control Squadron, commanded by Colonel Savini. I'm a pretty fortunate ops group commander in the Air Force in that I get to oversee 2 different major weapon systems, the E-11 being one of them. Really the mission of the squadron is essentially to train the pilots, the air crew, and the payload operators for the E-11 so that they in turn can then deploy to go downrange and support the warfighter in our combatant command AORs around the world. That's essentially the mission in a nutshell. These guys are in a growth period. The Air Force kind of changed direction on where they wanted to go with the BACN program that's really been around since the late 2000s. And now we've decided we're going to stick with this platform and move forward, and they're going to continue to train these crews over the next 2 to 3 years and eventually take over 100% of the worldwide deployment taskings that come along with this platform. That's
wonderful. So I'll follow that up. As the unit continues to grow, what kind of impact do you think that we will see here locally in Middle Georgia?
Yeah, absolutely. First, it's great to be associated to have BACN here in Middle Georgia. As a geographically separated unit, we obviously rely on the 319th to help us out, but we're probably more reliant than some of the other tenant units at the base on the 78th Air Base Wing, so we always appreciate the 78th leadership and their teams and the other mission partners at the base and the various services that they provide to us that can't necessarily be provided by the 319th. So appreciate you all for doing that as well.
Hold it up a little more, like hold it closer to you. Yeah. There you go.
As far as the economic impact on the area, our unit, right now we're fairly small, but we're growing quite a bit. We started last year with about 8 people in the unit, and right now we're at 70. We will eventually grow to over 200. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less than that. So simply in terms of having the sheer number of people. A lot of the people that are coming to the Bacon are very young from tech school, so I certainly share Colonel Sheldon's concerns about housing and those kinds of things. That's also a concern to us as well. But just bringing a lot of younger people in order to help us stand up the mission. So that's pretty much it.
Anything you want to add?
No, I just want to say thank you to this community. Obviously, this is another mission partner that's growing here, and as Colonel Sweeney mentioned, we have a lot of folks that are here already. Some have transitioned from other missions that were at Robbins already because they like the area, they like the community so much, and they want to kind of walk across the street to join Scott's unit. So thank you for your continued support. Obviously, you've created an ecosystem here that is very friendly and family friendly, and I think that's a great attraction for future recruitment, as we've heard today. So thank you very much.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you both so much. Now our final introduction. Please join me in welcoming Deborah Davis with Credence Management Solutions.
Good afternoon. I've got to pass it up to April first. You're welcome. So let me start off with whose breakfast consisted of Sudafed, Claritin, Mucinex in the Middle Georgia area starting today, or actually the last 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, right? But thank you for joining us. Thank you to the Chamber for always hosting this great event. So today I'll just tell you a little bit about Credence. We've been in the local community since 2010. We started the business in 2007, and it was a trusted consultant business with innovative technology. We have grown and met our goals in 17 years in 2018. So we have really excelled. Credence supports weapon systems. We're global. We support USAID. We support many aircraft platforms, operations, training, cyber, nuclear. I mean, I could go on. I've had 30 years here, and I'm part of the community. I love Robbins. I'm passionate about it, and I have seen this group grow and grow. I've been an outreach partner for 7 years, and I'm very excited to see how much we put into our base. It is the ecosystem here that continues to make us successful, all of us. So thank you to the industry partners, the private businesses, the military, the civilians. We're a team, so can't do it alone. So I'm very humbled to introduce today Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Cox. Lieutenant Colonel Cox is the commander of both the 350th Spectrum Warfare Wing Detachment and the 87th Electronic Warfare Squadron Detachment 1. Under the U.S. Air Force Warfare Center, as an inaugural commander of the detachment, Lieutenant Colonel Cox is charged with transforming his units into the 950th Spectrum Warfare Group and the 17th Electronic Warfare Squadron, as well as 2 additional yet-to-be-designated squadrons. That's the big secret we want to know. The 950th mission is comprehensive electromagnetic warfare verification, certification, readiness, integration, effectiveness, assessment, development, and execution for all U.S. Air Force weapon systems. Glad to have him here. I was at his change of command, and I'm honored to present him. And then we also have engineering, solution architects, www.creeds.com. So, sir, welcome.
Colonel Cox, thanks for hanging in there with us, and we saved the new and shiny for last. So a lot of people have stuck around to hear the great things that are on the horizon, as Deborah alluded to. So as a brand new unit and mission at Robbins, what is the significance of the 950th Spectrum Warfare Group?
Sure. Before I answer that question, I want to pass my apologies for my wing commander not being able to make it today. The 4-star general in charge of Air Combat Command just got to see General Wilsbach, and he chose our wing as the first wing to visit. So he wishes he could be here. I'm actually.
No, he doesn't.
I bet he'd rather I be here than there. And that's also why I have my bag packed in my car. I'm actually going to go brief him tomorrow morning. So
okay.
He does pass his regrets. Yeah, great question. The significance of the 950th, I would say, with a lot of bias, of course, is high, right? You kind of heard the smorgasbord of words in the introduction from my bio, but what I really want to contextualize from that is my boss refers to the 950th as the most significant group in his wing. So a lot of responsibility there, and the wing is often contextualized as the most consequential wing in the Air Force. Those are some pretty bold claims, right? So let me kind of contextualize that discussion for you. In World War II, I think as an aftermath, we all learned that if you don't win in the air, you're not going to win in combat. War has evolved a lot since then, but the fact that air dominance is a requirement has not changed. There have been some caveats, though, that have been assigned or otherwise added on to air dominance, and that's I think it was best said by General Kelly, the former commander of Air Combat Command, and he said that while air dominance is still the primary factor, if we as a force lose in the electromagnetic spectrum, we're going to lose in the war. And the reason why the 950th exists is to ensure that those spectrum systems are going to work when we want them to, and that the enemies are not going to work when we don't want them to work. And that's why the Chief of Staff of the Air Force directly said that he wanted to have the 950th stood up by the 1st of June this year. So it kind of makes sense to me, obviously, as an aviator, why that's so important. When you think of a lot of your combat aircraft, they've got air-to-air and air-to-ground radars, right, to find your targets, to find your enemies. You have radios that you need to talk to your wingman and your command and control units. You've got data links so that you can have that shared mental model so all your aircraft know exactly how to work together. You've got GPS so you know exactly where you are. All of those systems, they all rely on the spectrum, and if we aren't sure that those systems are going to work in the presence of our enemies on the other side of the world, that's going to be a problem. So when you think about all those systems that we have on our aircraft and you think, well, how do I take a fight to the enemy? You're going to need to win in war because you're going to have some of those electronic warfare systems like radar jammers, radio jammers. You've got chaff and flare, right, so that you make sure you don't get shot down. You've got towed decoys. You've got a lot of different types of missiles. Those all exploit the enemy's use of the spectrum, or it just denies their use of the spectrum altogether. So the 950th's job, we're there to make sure that all of those systems work together so that when we are using our systems to deny the enemy's freedom to maneuver in that electromagnetic spectrum, that we're not actually hampering ours as well. So you think about the F-15s, the C-17s, the C-130s, and the C-5s, all the aircraft and systems that this base is supporting, those all operate in the spectrum, and making sure that all those can be intertwined together is just a small snapshot of what the group's looking at. For those of you who know how the spectrum works, the electromagnetic spectrum doesn't care if you're in the Air Force or the Navy or the Army. They don't care what country you're from. Like it is a medium through which all of us have to operate. So in order to get that effectiveness assessment done, that verification done, we can't do it without looking at the joint and the coalition lens. We know that we will always go to war with our joint brothers and sisters and our coalition brothers and sisters. So doing that job, you can't do that job correctly unless you're actually looking at those areas. And it's a really good thing that our wing has this job, because our wing currently has one coalition squadron and 2 joint squadrons as well, in order to make sure that the reprogramming of our systems is able to be in line with the rest of the joint coalition fight as well. So I guess to sum it all up, if we're able to assess the effectiveness and verify our effectiveness now, it's going to ensure to our combatant commanders that they know how the conflicts are going to turn out when they actually take place.
Very good. And Colonel Cox, I am fairly certain the next question on my card is not intended for you. So I'm going to ask for you to talk about the next thing you plan on talking about as we wrap things up.
Sure. All right. The question that I was told that you guys were going to ask was how essentially is our wing and the group specifically is going to impact the community. I'm assuming that was
pretty close.
You had? Okay.
It'll work.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, we as an organization sounds like we're going to have a pretty significant impact on the local community. As people talked about before, the reputation that the local area has as becoming like a tech-savvy, engineering-heavy area are just going to increase. The requirements that our organization has on developing assessment capabilities is going to require a lot of engineering and a lot of programming. You're going to have a lot of operators and intelligence professionals who figure out how to take the information that we have on the enemy and do something useful with it. And of course, there's a lot of support organizations and support entities that we kind of need in our organization to kind of to really get after that. So we're going to have a number of airmen. We're going to have a number of civilians in the organization. We're expected to be at least 400 people in the 950th Spectrum Warfare Group, and I was told to foot stomp at least because as you scale the amount of work that is going to need to be done to make sure that every one of your aircraft types, which I believe the current number is around 4,000 quantity, but the actual different number of aircraft types, you're looking at a couple dozen. Scaling that amount is going to be quite a large sum. So again, say at least 400 people are going to be 950th. It's going to be airmen. It's going to be civilians, and that 400 plus does not count the number of contractor support that we're also going to need to get after some of the tactical problems that we're looking at. So yeah, looking to get some engineers, get programmers, get some intelligence professionals, like I said, and then current and former operators of some of the weapon system, as well as all the support personnel required for an organization of our size. I think it's going to be a pretty significant impact on the area. In addition to that, though, when you think of from a professional developmental standpoint, the 950th's presence at Robins Air Force Base, it's really bolstering Middle Georgia in an area that they've already become well known for, right? So my boss started to kind of reference this area as the Joint Center of Excellence for Electromagnetic Warfare, and he couldn't be more right. You have various organizations on Robins Air Force Base that do the development of new electromagnetic warfare equipment. You've got the other folks that do the sustainment part, which I would argue is the hard part, is making these systems work over and over again. As a B-52 guy, the amount of times you've overhauled my equipment is admirable, and that plane is still flying. So you also have Fort Gordon, right? A short jaunt down the street. They have an electronic warfare range that they just stood up as well. So when it comes to finding the highest concentration of electromagnetic warfare experts, I don't think there's a better and a more concentrated place in the entire world than it is right now. And so we are super excited to be a part of that. I know the local Dixie Crow chapter and the Association of Crows is a testament to that. They keep winning awards over and over because of how many experts they have here. And then also there's a lot of construction going on as well. We need as much military construction as well as our mission partners as possible. There is the $124 million battle management project that we are there with the 461st and the 116th and the 18th. And then we're also doing a $10 million renovation for a facility that the 116th was so kind to donate to us. So I really appreciate it, sir, for helping us out for that. So yeah, really looking forward to being a part of this organization and a part of this community.
Very good. Colonel Cox, a great news story, and sounds like a lot more to come, so we look forward to hearing from you guys again next year. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm going to stand up. This is about as long as I've sat down in one time in a really long time, but I want to thank you all so much for being here. I know the program runs longer than our normal programming, but I want to thank you because it is important what's happening at Robins and the impact that it has across our entire region. You will notice on your tables there's this cool multi-tool, add a battery, and it's also a flashlight, courtesy of Jeff Smith Automotive. They have been our longtime presenting sponsor of this event, and we're so thankful to them. Anna, thank you to you and your team for the continued support of everything we can do to support our airmen. I'm going to ask you when you grab that to leave your name tag, but I understand the mayor has a message she would like to share. So leave your name tag, and before you leave, look on the screens. We will have the direct link to the economic impact report, full report on this website. You will also get a recap email containing this, the video, event photos, and more following the program. Thank you all so much. Let me welcome Mayor Patrick Wilmerson.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come back really quickly. I was disheveled earlier, so my mind was everywhere, and I forgot to do something extremely important. Two things. One, I represent the city of Warner Robins, which is one small piece of the county, largest piece, but we're still one piece. But I do not serve by myself. I serve with mayors that are here with me. We have Mayor Harley of Centerville that's here. We have Mayor Walker of Perry who is here. And we have Chairman Perdue, who represents the county, who is here, and other elected officials who serve with them, and council. So thank you for being here. Also, Military Child. This is the month of the Military Child. And the city of Warner Robins is having an event on Monday, April the 22nd, from 4 to 7 at Memorial Park, which is right across the street from Robins Air Force Base. So if you have any littles, any children who are serving with you, service members, please consider bringing them out Monday, April 22nd, 4 to 7 p.m., right across from the base, Memorial Park. You'll see it. So thank you for the Woman of the Hour, Ms. April Bragg, for doing this grand occasion. And thank you to all of our service members, all the leadership here. Thank you for your service and your sacrifice.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you back here on May the 2nd for our legislative exit issues.